Brad, can you just talk about the way your team played in overtime after, again, struggling at the end of the fourth quarter, but they didn't let that get them down, and they bounced back early in the overtime?
Played pretty well in the in a lot of the fourth quarter until the very end. Monroe, obviously, yeah, that's a tough spot, especially when you're coaching, because you know that what can beat you is the three, and they keep chipping away with 2 after 2, and I thought Bass and Tyler Zeller guarded them about as well as you could, but he just made shot after shot after shot. We started doubling him a little bit or at least showing him a little bit more of a double look at the start of overtime, and that was good and got us out going. So, we're excited to get a win, and we're excited that a lot of guys contributed. I thought our bench was good tonight.
Coach, why did you decide to go with Turner and Sully in overtime?
I just thought that Evan had an ability to get to the basket and put the ball on the floor. As the game got later and later, him being able to handle the ball at the top and pick and roll, and his size, I thought he was really locked in defensively tonight, and he made a couple of good plays. So. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Sullinger in as well. Sullinger was in the game too, and he didn't play much in the second half.
Yeah, I thought that I thought it was hard to choose our best bigs tonight because I thought Kelly was not as good in his first stint, but excellent after that. I thought that Bass wasn't as good in his first stint, but really good after that. I thought that Tyler Zeller was probably our most consistent big up to that point, but. Late in that game when we had those guys in, I just didn't feel like we were scoring enough. That's why we decided to go with Kelly and Sully at the start of overtime, and Sully made huge shots. We need Sully to make big shots.
Brad, did you notice an increase in the physicality?
Yeah, but I thought we were really good as far as handling the pressure late. What did we end up with? 12 turnovers on the night in an overtime game. That's pretty good. I thought that obviously their interior got us a little bit, but I mean their interior gets a lot of people physically. So I thought it was a better response. The best part about the night for me, Mark, is having that having to kind of gut out or grind out a lead because we didn't have a whole lot of real juice going, right? It didn't feel like we were really separating ourselves. They come back and they make plays and they tie it. And, Jeff makes a nice drive at the end of regulation, and it had to have been Drummond that came out of the middle of nowhere and jumped 15 feet high in the air and threw it into the stands. And then we responded. So that we needed to respond, and so I'm not going to overreact, though. We've only done it once.
I don't think Marcus played in the second half.
Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
I didn't think he looked ready. It had nothing to do physically. He hasn't practiced. I felt like it would be better to go with Phil and Gerald. I thought they would give us the same things that Marcus gave us, and they've been traveling with the team and everything else, and it's kind of tough to just throw him in there. I hadn't even seen him until we got to the gym today.
Now, down the stretch, you put Rondo on the bench a couple of times. Was that just for free throws? And then it seemed like Turner was handling the ball a lot in overtime. Was that because of the free throws too?
Well, Evans, shooting, 87% or something. We were playing Rondo and off the ball in some of the actions. We had Rondo run a cut to get him on a live dribble on a pick and roll to start the overtime. And he made a nice pass to Sully, a little jam play. And, it doesn't really matter who has it to me. I took him out the one time, and I immediately regretted it and felt like I should have had him back in. So I had him taking the ball out the rest of the time.
Coach, when you look at the box score, you'll see the big night that Jeff Green had scoring, but talk a little bit about what he was able to give you at the defensive end of the floor.
Okay. I'm trying to piece my thoughts all together because I really thought it was a power game for their bigs, and I thought Jeff, as he usually does, was pretty active in helping us off of that. I am going to get on him a little bit for getting screened a couple times on threes late, and but for the most part, I thought he did a really good job, and he played very aggressive. I mean, he played 2 really good games the last 2 nights as far as scoring the ball and getting the ball where we want. And we showed him some clips last week of settling versus attacking, and we felt like he really attacked. He's had a good look at him the last couple of nights.
How important is it for him to get to the free throw line and get there a lot?
We don't get there much as a team, so it's helpful. Obviously, we need to find a way to get there a little bit more. I mean, I don't know, we shot 27 free throws, but we probably shot 10 in the last, minutes. So we didn't shoot free. It didn't feel like, even though we were 22 of 27, it seems like we missed some timely ones. But I felt like, the more that he can get to the line, the better. He needs to attack for us to be good. And he had a couple post matchups we felt good about. And again, I thought he got the ball at the rim. It took a phenomenal effort by the weak side big to block that last shot, because he otherwise would have scored the ball.
Brad, was Kelly's assertiveness a little bit more of what you're looking for from him?
Yeah, I told him while we were standing on the court with 0.4 seconds left, and I thought the first stint wasn't as good, and then after that, I thought he really responded. We put him on Drummond quite a bit, and he did a great job playing position, and then just going back and blocking out and letting other people, go and get the ball. But I liked the way he played today.
When you see him pull up for a 3.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he does. One of the things that bothers me a little bit is how much fewer threes he's taken than other guys, especially with the way he's shooting. His percentage is probably the best on our team, right? So, I want all those guys to take what they're taking, but I want him to take a lot more.
And how does that increase his game when he's got to take the shot to bring people out so he can make his passes, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you're sitting there and you're going to be a little bit undersized, and those guys are good athletes on the block with Drummond and Monroe, but the other end of the court, you can spread them a little bit, and that's one of our things we need to be able to do to win, I think.
Brad, there seemed like there's a definite emphasis down the stretch on getting the ball inside and not settling for jumpers. And although Jared took his when he was open and he kind of was in the flow, was that something that was intentional?
Well, they really, yeah. It was intentional because we liked Jeff's matchup. But then they really sunk into the paint, and they really jammed the paint. We threw the ball away a couple times. And so that's why we tried to spread it a little bit more in the overtime. And that's why we played Kelly and Jared together in the overtime, just because we felt like they would get looks. It was a matter of knocking them down at that point.
And just obviously a win, but what do you take away from this game?
I thought we did a lot of things well, but I didn't think we played exceptionally well. I think in a lot of our losses we've played better. I like tonight a lot better than all of them, but we still have to go back and reevaluate it and look at it in reality and try to get better from it. And see if we can't improve. I'm excited for the guys that they gutted one out when it, kind of teeter-tottered back and forth of not going their way.
Brad, it seems like there's been 2 Kelly Olynyk's so far this season. Even tonight, you said that the first time that he was out there wasn't as great as it was the rest of the game. How do you get the great Kelly Olynyk, or the excellent one that played the last 3 quarters, to be out there consistently?
Everybody's going to have a tough stint. The good part is he had a tough stint, but it didn't affect his whole night. So it's okay to have a tough stint, but don't be able to respond to that. I don't know the answer to your question, and I don't think it's applicable only to one person. I really think it's applicable to coaches, players, people in every industry, people that woke up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning and everything else. And if you find the answer, please email me and let me know.